Nasser Salimi and Giuseppe Vizzoni have both lived and are continuing to live a sustained life out of their passion for music. Either performing, teaching or producing, these are some skills both have mastered to put into daily use within their career. Nasser consists of various career paths over the years, switching between the three, including a protein career pathway, a portfolio pathway and a linear pathway. Firstly, beginning his journey with a protein career, saying yes to work, then learning on the job, willing to put himself out there in a challenging atmosphere.
They had an 8-piece band. They had percussion on the stage, but they didn't use it. And the band leader, who I was introduced to, said, "Oh, you'd like to play a couple of tunes with us? Because we play a few mambos." Like this, I started to network. People get to know me. So, hey, look, there is this gig that day. Would you like to do it? I started to go to rehearsals just to watch of big jazz big bands. And I found it, of course, very interesting. And jazz big bands, sometimes they play tunes that are inspired by Latin music, such as Manteca, Night in Tunisia, so on. So this is how I started to connect.
This led Nasser into a near-professional performing career at an early age, later generating a linear pathway, becoming a professional percussionist for many artists.
And this is how I started, and I started to play with this band, follow this singer. 30 years in France, mainly in France. I played with many different known and unknown people.
Many years later, after a successful performing journey, Nasser began his portfolio career sourcing income from teaching multiple languages, including the musical language, at universities and schools. Nasser continues to sustain himself financially with his present jobs, musically and non-musically. Giuseppe has experienced such a variety of living in the music industry, firstly commencing his journey with a protein approach career equivalent to Nasser, putting himself out there to be recognised for future work and projects. This is common to begin a career in the music industry through this chosen pathway, especially in the era Giuseppe and Nasser were present. Here's an insight from Joe about the beginning of his career.
I started my musical journey when I was still at school. I really didn't have a lot of knowledge back in those days. I was just winging it more than anything else. So I got interested enough to go to the con and study and do all that. So I wanted to become a professional musician, which is what I did, and lived off it for many, many years.
Joe's ambition to become a professional musician through the conservatorium drove him into a successful linear career playing with and for artists as well as teaching alongside. This partakes in the happenstance learning theory, referring to Ruth Bridgestock's analogy passion stance, meaning one's passion for the job outweighs any setbacks. This was also, if not more, prominent in Nasser's journey as he found it hard to network. Joe experienced setbacks within his collaborative performing, coming across unhealthy competition.
The down periods when work was really difficult to get, and you had unhealthy competition. I think there's healthy competition and I think there's unhealthy competition. And unhealthy competition is people kind of like putting you down behind your back about what you do or what you don't do, rather than being helpful.
Next, discussing sustaining one's career financially and artistically, keeping the mind open to any form of opportunity and always keeping interest in new styles and musical cultures.
First of all, you have to be in a big city where everything is happening. Teaching as well. After a while, you get opportunity to teach, which this happened to me in 1999 in Paris, in one big music school. So I had the best conditions. So I worked there 10 years. but it's always a mixture of everything, and you need to have an open mind to different kind of music.
I run a studio. We just released an album not long ago, and I'm working on another one at the moment with another client. I also work in IT, so as a computer technician.
These sources of income sustain financially as well as artistically because of the musical qualities and pleasures within. How to deal with disappointment, a necessity in the music industry. Having the ability to know yourself deeply to strategize negative occurrences into a manageable form.
Why don't you try getting a more solid beat?
How do you deal with it? Well, go and have a walk. Try to think that they are the one who create the problem, not you. But as well, you have to be honest with yourself, which is a very difficult thing sometimes, because we think we're doing the right thing. What was described by a great violinist or classic as to have the ability to listen interiorly from your inside, to hear what you do from your inside fitting with the rest. So that's technical, but it's psychological.
This was greatly explained by Nasser. In addition to listening internally, also have the ability to listen to yourself mentally, thinking twice about the words about to be spoken. Here's Joe's insight on disappointment.
In the early days, it was very helpful. So I guess because of the kind of personality that I am, one of the things that I did to deal with disappointment was to look at whatever the scenario was at the time and try and work out exactly what it was that I needed to do so that it wouldn't happen again.
Joe's detailed self-improvement strategies stemmed from his disappointing times has been extremely effective in his journey and in his instrumental playing and performing. Here is critical advice for an undergraduate musician. Personally, I believe this advice could be just as effective to anyone.
For the last question, what advice would you give an undergraduate musician?
Practice. The advice is that, you know what? Practice every day. Don't force it too much, because otherwise you start to hate what you do. When it becomes a chore, stop. Physically, for sticks, when it hurts in your arms, stop.
Nasser's advice being simple but most effective playing-wise. And lastly, Joe's amazing advice I personally live by musically and non-musically.
What I would say to an undergraduate is expose yourself to as much different kind of music as you can. If you've got preconceived ideas about different genres of music, maybe just go back to being a child in a wondrous kind of way. Look at different things as if it's the first time you've ever seen it or the first time you've ever heard it, and listen and look at things in that way.